Hey, Chris, thanks for your time today. Do you mind introducing yourself?
Hey Brian, yeah, absolutely. Christian Brown, I do go by Chris. I'm 26 years old and I'm currently reporting from Sunshine State, Tampa, Florida.
So, you are the co founder of Glewee. What
Mhm.
inspired you to start that at such a young age?
So Glewee at its core, right, I'll kind of give a little background, is an end-to-end influencer marketing platform for both brands and influencers, right? So with that, servicing two sides of the industry. And when we originally started, it was one of my best friends, Dylan Duke and I. And what we did is we were looking at the influencer marketing space, and really looking at it from more of the influencer side. And when you think about like the pre-TikTok generation of social media, it was the rise of the YouTube stars, followed by the rise of Instagram, which followed by the Instagram stars. Those were the two leading platforms. From there, you had long form content on YouTube, and then you had just picture content on Instagram. Brands were getting all over that. They were trying to find ways to incorporate their brand identity, any level of brand awareness they can get when with using influencers. And in that time came Vine. Vine was short-lived, a beautiful little period of the social media landscape there. And so with that, that kind of added the visual element, the video element to it. And so when knowing a lot of like different influencers, whether it was at the end of our high school experience, building different brands and e-com shops, like and trying to grow that countrywide globally, or being in Los Angeles directly, like with different kids that at the time were getting their first like 1, 2, 3 million followers, we're seeing that brands were jumping all over it. And there was like this great opportunity for these influencers and these creators, but there wasn't necessarily one space or one location for these brand deals to happen. And then on the brand side, I studied advertising at DePaul University, and so I've always been in the marketing and advertising space. That's always been like my passion and what I've always been drawn to. And so being able to connect the dots of like, well, brands and marketers are going down this path of social as social was growing and developing, still in the pre-TikTok era, and creators were the new outlet of advertising, like the new vehicle, the new billboard, right? And so there was an opportunity there, and we set forth to kind of fuse the gap and really create an end-to-end platform to do so.
I love the inspiration behind it, right? Because you've hit the nail on the head. Like, there's been so many such a rapid evolution in how brands are presenting themselves on social media through, organic traffic or through influencer marketing. So to be able to jump on that early enough and have that realization to get in there is something that I wish I would have realized 10, 15 years ago when Facebook first came out.
Yep.
So is there a meaning behind the name Gluey, or is it just something that's fun to say?
Yeah, so it derives from glue, Glew, and the idea behind glue is the adhesion point between the brands and the influencers, right? That true sticky material, that sticky platform that has been created, that fusion that happens between the brands and influencers. And back in the day, truthfully, getting glue.com and glue on socials, it was very difficult, right? A true four letter. And we looked at it and we said, well, we wanted to add onto it, make it two syllables, make it more fun, make it something that doesn't exist in Google, doesn't exist on social. And really, like our idea of building a business was building a brand, building an identity, and building something that people can now think of and Google and search for and find and be like, oh, that is this. And so we set forth to build upon the GLEW glue concept into Glewee. And from there, we built the brand, the platforms, and the identity from the ground up.
How has your personal journey influenced the platform's mission and growth?
Ooh, good question. I'd say that it's not necessarily just my journey, but it's all the journeys of all of us combined. So little history on our company. When we had first started, it was Dylan and I was 22, he was 21. So 4 years ago. And we were really thinking like, how do we build a business? How do we build a company? How do we build something scalable? And our first thought was, well, let's start with our friends. And so what we were able to do is post getting our first round of investment, we brought on a lot of our closest friends, where they were friends from school or different walks of life that we've come from, that we really trusted to help grow and scale this business. And so we were a very young team from the jump. We kind of had a very young crew mixed with a group of senior leaders that were helping guide us throughout the trials and tribulations that come in the startup phase. And so when I think back historically on like my journey, I think about our journey as like a whole team and an organization. And the fact that we were able to go from just sitting in this teeny tiny little office, Dylan and I, where we didn't have enough room to even have desks next to each other, we were back to back, to being able to grow our organization, so large to the point that we had 30 employees last year at this time. And so being able to see that growth and experience that on a timeline is just, it's incredible, right? Being able to grow as a leader, being able to grow as a mentor with our younger team members, being able to learn from those leaders that we brought into the company, and being able to soak up all this information every single day, because all we do is run really fast. And admittedly, we fall down and we learn from that and we get back up. And that's how we built our company, is through learning and through experiences. And everything I've learned over these past 4 years, for me, it feels like a speed track MBA program that never ends, right? Because we're constantly evolving, not only as people, but also as professionals. And I think that being able to think back to where we once were mentally, and where we were in our career to now, right? That idea of growth and maturity and how our team has developed, and the friendships we've made along the way, that is all reflected in the work that we put out, the dedication we put out, the collaboration, and just the way in which we hold ourselves accountable as a team, as individuals, and as leaders.
Because the leadership team is so young, tell me about some of the challenges you may have faced because there is kind of that age bias of a young founder.
Yeah, I mean, all of them, right? I mean, it's everyone you could imagine has happened. So, I mean, we have members of our leadership team that are very seasoned and that point us in the right direction. That, like I mentioned, we're learning an immense amount from right now. But when we think back historically, there were a lot of pitfalls that we just didn't expect. When we think about licensing and contracting, we're working with, some pretty big companies, whether it's Amazon Web Service or whether it's HubSpot as your CRM, right? Like some of these multi-billion dollar companies. So obviously you're like, oh, we want to get the best deal. We want to sign these large contracts, right? That can come back to bite you in the butt over time. So we've learned definitely to get better with legal, to get better with our contracting, to be more mature about how we're looking at our investments and how we're spending those funds, how we're tracking the return on those funds. When people raise money, their first thought is like, oh, we want to have a lot of fun. We want to throw these parties. We want to do all this. I think that we took a different approach, and we're very glad for that we were very conservative with it. And we looked at it and said, we need to invest in the areas of this business that are going to grow. And so I'd say that as a young team, there was a lot to learn, and there still is so much to learn. And I think that you spend a lot of time learning and not a lot of time being like, oh, this is exactly what we need to do, A, B, C, D, E. It's more about like, okay, let's figure it all out. Let's learn from our failures and let's test. Whereas now we're in a position where we've matured, our executive and leadership team has matured, and we're able to be pointed in the right direction, follow those rules that our leaders are setting forth, and actually get to execution a lot faster than we once were.
There's a couple of challenges in there, right? Being a founder is always, oh, I'm building the plane as I'm flying it. You don't necessarily have the blueprint on how you're going to execute. You just kind of stumble along until you've found repeated success. And then you're like, okay, can I repeat that again? And then learning the lessons of, okay, these things didn't work out. Let's not do that anymore. Or do, actually calculated testing, which I find doing a lot, especially on like the marketing side.
Yeah. And Brian, thinking back, something you just mentioned kind of sparked a memory. So last week, I got like one of those phone memories, right? Of like this week 4 years ago. And it was our original concept drawings of our iOS app, which is for our influencers. And I remember we drew that out. It was Sharpie in a notebook. The photo I took was about 20 pages of drawings. And I remember we looked at each other, Dylan and I, right, we finished drawing them. We're like, wow, this is great. Like this would be a really, really amazing concept and app. And then we kind of did a double take. We said, how the heck are we going to build an app? And there were so many moments like that where we're like, all right, now on the execution side, how are we going to do this? And now, obviously, if I were to ask myself that question or ask it in a group, I could tell you exactly what we need to do from steps A through Z. But back then we were like, yeah, let's figure this one out. And I think that it's all about having the ambition to want to do that, having the drive to then go do it, and having the courage to stick with it, and not give up, even when you fall on your face like 2,000 times in a single week.
100%. I completely agree with that. So let's get back to the platform and talking more about Glewee. So the influencer marketing space has become quite competitive. What is something that sets you apart from the competition in the industry?
So when we think about like influencer marketing, right, let's take it all the way back to like the word, the concept, the notion. It really has two parties. Typically, marketing in general has it's a two-party approach. There's the marketer, and then there's the audience, right? The message, the vehicle, how we're displaying that ad or where we're running it, right? That goes out to the audience. Now, influencer marketing, social media is at the general core of that. And then you have your influencers, and then you have your audience. And the idea is that the brands can kind of skip over this, use the influencers through social to get to those audiences. And so with that, the two parties really are your creator and influencer archetype, and then your brand or your agency or your advertiser side of that. What makes us unique is that we started our platform really influencer first. So when we looked at what we were going to do, our main thought is we want to build an app for influencers and creators that does not exist. We set forth to do so, where on our platform, creators and influencers, we're just USA based for right now, but they download and apply to our platform. We then vet a person on our team is vetting each and every applicant based on follower count, engagement rate, brand likability, suitability for work, and past brand deal experience to get into our platform. Once those creators are in, they authenticate their accounts. So we have our business partnerships with TikTok, with Meta, YouTube, etc. So we can validate that that influencer actually owns that account. And then from the APIs, we can pull in that data, and that data will sit in their profile. Now, what we've done is we've created a community of over 10,000 pre-vetted active influencers ready to work. So now that we have that side of the equation, the idea is to go out to the brand side. When we think a competitive landscape for us internally, yes, it is very competitive. There are different sides to this market. There is your agencies, and a lot of times bigger agencies have built proprietary tech where they run their own campaigns, whether it's influencer marketing or other areas of marketing. Then you have your database platforms. So way before our entrance into the market, a lot of the platforms that existed were these big databases. So they would say, oh, we have 10 million influencers, and you would join on like a SaaS subscription, and then you could access their database, build lists, export CSVs. But at the end of the day, you would just be back at square one, where you as the brand are now emailing influencers. And that is like the cookie cutter, oldest name of the game. It's out, it's phased out, it's super outdated, it's really hard to do. And so database platforms, something we looked at, we're like, well, that doesn't really do it, right? That doesn't get the influencers to connect with the brand and streamline the process. So then the third side of the brand side is your opt-in networks. And so what happens is brands will join our platform and then be able to, how we do it is launch a campaign. So in just 5 minutes, they can put together everything they want from here's the product that I want to ship to influencers, here's the brief, here's examples of content that I really like, here's my brand logo, product imagery, what type of post you want per social platform. And you can even filter by what type of creator you want. Do you want male, female, non-binary? Do you want a specific age range? Do you need a specific location, whether it's a region or whether it's the whole country or a state? And then a follower account side. And then what happens is in that campaign creation process, that gets deployed to our platform. And then within 1 second, every influencer on our platform that qualifies for that deal gets a notification to their phone saying that a new deal for X amount of money has been published. And then what we have is a very unique Uber Eats style feed where influencers can scroll through, whether it's a free product campaign, paid, affiliate, whatever type of campaign it is, they can scroll through those and then they can apply in real time. And then in doing so, they pitch themselves to the brand. And I'm not joking, within 30 seconds of a brand launching a campaign on our platform, they can have 5 to 20 influencers that raise their hand and say, I want to be a part of this. And so when we think back about what makes us unique is that we've done this for the SMB, the small to mid-size e-commerce company or service provider or consumer app that exists that wants to be the big Coca-Colas or your Sephoras. They want to be like them, but they don't have the budget. You're able to find influencers that you can find them fast, work with them for an extremely affordable rate, and drive real results, all with speed and efficiency at our core.
So does the brand have the ultimate say on who they move forward with as far as their influencer for those campaigns?
Yeah. And so
Okay.
sometimes brands will come to the platform and they'll say, I want to work with 20 influencers, or they don't even know how many influencers they want to work with. They say, I want to spend $250 for this TikTok. I need there to be a specific link in bio, a tag, a reference to the TikTok shop, whatever the criteria is.
Sure.
And then let's say 85 influencers apply. We see that sometimes brands will say, well, I just want to work with 10. And then we look back and they're like, well, I actually like 25 of them. So the brand, yes, they get to chat with each influencer. If they like the influencer, they can look at all their data. They can see their follower breakdown, their audience demographic. You can even see the marital status of each audience member that the influencer has. Like we have very deep insight. And then from there, all the brand has to do is press hire. We auto-generate contracts, send them to the influencer through the app. The influencer signs it, sends it back, and that's held on our platform. And then everything from the content approval process to the safe and secure payments, all the way to that content going live to the influencer's social and being tracked back in our platform, all happens in one place.
How much coaching do you do with brands when they come onto the platform? They're not really sure, how many influencers they're looking to engage with given their specific budget. How do you coach or give them guidance on, hey, based off of what your budget is, based off of what you want your KPIs on this campaign to be, you should go with X?
Absolutely, we do. I'd say you would be very surprised, as I am pleasantly surprised as well, when a brand will come on and will offer these onboarding sessions, or these influencer marketing expert sessions. And we just offer that as part of a subscription on our platform, right? Being a member of our community, we want them to find the most success. Sometimes people will say, no, I got this. Trust me, I know exactly what I'm doing. And they do. And it's amazing when we see that. And other times brands will come to us, they're like, yeah, we just want some guidance. And so we talk to them, like you mentioned, what are your KPIs? What are your goals? Because brand awareness is a whole different beast than ROI. And ROI is a whole lot different than a link click campaign. So based on what the outcome and the metric should be, we can really look at that and set the campaign up a certain way, to get the right influencers. And then based on that, we too have recommendation systems. So we have like different review systems. We can see which influencers have worked on which campaigns, that the brands can see that. And so they leverage a lot of that data. And they come back to us. They're like, hey, we want to work with these five. What do you guys think? We say, we think you have made an amazing choice. And then if there's any issues across the way, from the time that they find the influencers to the content being posted, we're there 24/7 to help them. So we do coach and we do educate every step of the way. But sometimes it's not necessary. And I think with an ever evolving industry, it's great to see that, other people are learning at the same speed that we're trying to teach.
Have there been instances where influencers didn't necessarily meet the brief and didn't get paid out, which caused issues, or have been in competition, if you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They endorse a brand and then endorse another one that is very similar in the same space.
So I think there's kind of two sides to this. One is just kind of the completion of the scope of work. And then the other is like a true non-compete side of things. On the scope of work side, what we've learned is, and going back to our original thesis is here, is that building a marketplace model is extremely difficult, right? Like it took us a while to really grasp the concept of like we are building for two audiences, two sides of
Mm.
a marketplace, right? And we look at, I mention this all the time. Airbnb is one of the most beautiful, incredible concepts, best executed, like the UI of Airbnb, my actual grandmother can figure it out, right? And so we're deeply inspired by that. But at the end of the day, we must know that in a marketplace with two sides that are ungoverned and just using technology as a means of execution, there are going to be issues and there are going to be non-perfect scenarios. So yes, there have been times where influencers are uncommunicative or they miss the post date or the content does not meet the brief. And so in that case, right, that's why we have those briefs so that we are not policing, rather the brand is the one that has the final say. And if the brand very easily through the platform kind of raises a red flag, we get involved, we look at it, and we just focus on what was the brief, what were the deliverables, what was the timeline, and if the influencer did not meet those, we side with the party that set the rules, being the brand in this case. And we try to educate our influencers, whether it's through the product, through the UI, through our marketing material or our community itself, just educate them to be the best they can be, because they're there to make content, to generate revenue for themselves, and to work with great brands. And the brands, same thing, vice versa. And so we're just trying to foster this environment of collaboration, of timely execution, and of great creativity that works for all. But of course, there are pitfalls. As for competition, not necessarily. We haven't ran into any large problems there. As the brands in our platform become larger and we look more to the enterprise space, we've worked with an array of enterprise brands. And once you get to this level, they have their own legal teams. So they look at our contracts, they're like, well, yeah, you guys are out of here. They're like, we're gonna put in our contract, we're gonna run this how we run it. And we just, we want those brands on our platform. We love to work with brands of that caliber, and we get to learn so much from those processes. And so, of course, they're much more strict on non-competes and the level of scrutiny they put into the content approval process. If there's a legal team involved, there's going to be revisions. That's just how it goes. If it's a newer e-com company, they're going to be over the moon excited at that first round of content that's created. They're going to run it in the ad for the next 6 months, and they're going to keep coming back and getting more content from us all day long without question. So it varies at stages.
That makes sense. So let's shift gears a little bit and let's get into some of the trends that we're seeing in the influencer marketing space. So, what are some of the trends or challenges you think that brands and influencers should be prepared for in the near future?
Okay, here's a big one. TikTok Shop is actually dominating right now.
Yeah,
Um,
100%.
they have taken over. And I have been loving to watch this because for the longest time, like we mentioned, it was just, and you brought a great point. There were the Facebook influencers, right? Even before that, there was MySpace, then Tumblr, then
Hmm.
Facebook hit the scene. Then we had YouTube, then we have Instagram, which is still the king, and then we had Vine, and then TikTok came along. And TikTok, I thought they were just going to try to take down Instagram, right? And they did so perfectly. Pre-Instagram Reels, TikTok owned the entire watch time. And then, especially during COVID, that initial 2020 phase, TikTok took over. And then I started to look and see, like, okay, what's happening here? They built all of their influencers. And then they were like, okay, we already won the eyeballs from Instagram. Instagram rebutted with Instagram Reels. YouTube came in the game with YouTube Shorts. Now all three of them have the short form content funnels, which is
Hmm.
great for creators because it's additional ways to make revenue through the creator funds. And on top of that, I think we're missing Snapchat. I do love Snapchat as well. They kind of play in their own lane. They have their Gen Z and smaller audiences that they love to work with. But TikTok then said, okay, what do we do with all these eyeballs, right? We know that the brands are paying to advertise on TikTok, but they wanted way more. So TikTok Shop came out as a way to combat both Temu and Amazon. And so that quick hit shopping experience that I want to buy this thing for $3, it takes that Alibaba, AliExpress notion of like quick, really cheap, and it might not be from your neighbor. And it speeds it up at the speed of Amazon. And so what Amazon was doing is they were trying to build their own program internally that was going to have like a TikTok style feed to shop Amazon products on. TikTok Shop blew up so quickly that they just did a partnership there. So what's happening right now is TikTok Shop is reinventing the concept of affiliate marketing while introducing the influencer into it. Because a lot of times with Instagram, it was like these influencers are great for brand awareness, right? You had your big companies that were throwing $50,000 a post. Everyone's heard the idea of like Kim Kardashian charges 100,000 a post. That was what influencer marketing was for a little bit. Now it's much more focused on who are the micro influencers that have a true hold over their audience, that these smaller product lines can be introduced by the influencer to the audience. And not only could the influencer get paid up front, but they can also get a VIG of that recurring payment every single time that someone buys something. And affiliate marketing had been a lot more quiet for the past couple of years as like the brand awareness side of things had taken off. And now TikTok Shop has brought that back in. So I think we're going to see a big shift towards affiliate marketing, and that from the payout structure on both brand and the influencer side. And then I think secondarily, something I would say is the election definitely brought forth a lot of new ideas about how social media can really play into perception. I think there's the idea of like parasocial relationships and how you can be everywhere, right? You can spend, there was just well over $1 billion spent on both candidates' marketing budget, a lot of which went to social and digital advertising. So you can be everywhere, right? But it's this concept of depth. And I think that these quick hit 15-second videos, they're not landing in our brains, they're just scraping the surface. So longer form content, right? A moment where two audience, like you and I are doing,
Mhm.
two members of a conversation can speak for a long time, and an audience member can actually like gather this information in a more depth-filled way so that they're actually feeling connected to the people talking. I think that we're going to see a shift towards that, and content is going to be a little more longer form. Another great example is two of the biggest influencers in the whole world right now, Kai Cenat and I Show Speed. They're two Twitch streamers. And the reason that they have such a strong hold on their audience and people are obsessed with everything they do is because millions and millions and millions of people across this world feel like they know them. And they are very funny kids who stream on Twitch, Kick, whatever, the streaming
Mhm.
platforms. And they're streaming for days at a time. The guy Kai Cenat right now is doing a 30-day stream. Anyone that is bored at any moment in time, typically, the younger generations, they can log on and they can just watch this show forever, ad free. Just watch the show, watch people doing things, having conversations. And like, I think we're going to see social moving more towards that genuine connection and moving a little bit away from like the glamour and the edited pictures of everyone on Instagram. Because, yeah, everyone looks great and it's amazing to see, but people realize they want something real, they want something more, and they want something that's relatable.
So going back to the TikTok shop, do you think that that was kind of spurred out of this? There's a trend right now in China and Southeast Asia where you're seeing people do like live modeling of products and essentially being able to sell right then and there. Do you think that the TikTok shop was kind of influenced by that sort of sales? I know that in the last couple of years, especially on Black Friday, I think last year or the year before, Amazon started doing this too on their homepage where like there was someone actually live streaming about products and just taking calls and conversations, kind of like that QVC
You see,
or
I was just gonna say that.
yeah,
Yep.
like
Yep.
how QVC was, 15 years ago. Now we're starting to see that kind of renew because of these trends in Southeast Asia. And I think that the TikTok shop kind of originated to help kind of fulfill that in the Western realm.
Yep.
And I think that we're going to start seeing that as a more dominant way of marketing, advertising, and influencing buyers to pick up new products.
Absolutely. I mean, you said it perfectly right there. I was thinking, yes, the QVC show. And then when you said that, I was thinking, I was like, okay, but so if we can show that the Chinese markets kind of took the idea of that live streaming, live sales concept, let's say that they took it from QVC and then TikTok took it later from that, which I agree with 100%. But like going way back to the beginning of time, people had to buy and sell things, right? Like people buy and sold bought and sold commodities, they sold goods, they sold food, and they did so in like legitimate physical town squares, town halls, right? Where they just walked around and you'd be like, wow, this person is doing really good job selling this apple. I'm going to buy this apple because I need to eat. And so it's this idea of like an in-person sale. There's something very, very, very like magical about that, right? From the buyer and seller side, like that emotion you get when you're like buying or getting like a really good meal because you're like getting something physical. You feel a part of the moment. Um, I think that we've been able to emulate that, and the only difference is there's just one screen in between. And I think that we're going to see a lot more of it. I don't think that, people are going to stop buying things that come to mind on Amazon because they can watch a video of someone doing it. I think that'll forever be a thing, especially in our lifetime. But I think new ways of buying and selling are going to come up. They're going to come up quick, and it's literally just going to be like TikTok is test everything, see what works, put the data behind it, and let the algorithm push. And if there's a new selling method that comes out next week that is proving to be better than these, TikTok will adopt it. They will rapidly build into it. They will find a way to monetize on it, and we will all know about it 30 days later.
I completely agree with that. All right, so last trend topic. Let's talk about technology and AI. I know that we're starting to see more, AI generated influencers. How is that disrupting what it is that you're doing at Glewee? Or are you leaning into that?
Two sides again, like earlier, there's the AI influencer side, we'll start there, is not disrupting anything at all. It exists, right? Like great platforms like CapCut, the editing tool, they have a fantastic suite of tools and
They do.
beautiful technology where you can quite literally add a script. An AI influencer gets generated based on whatever you tell it to generate the person like, and then that AI person will read the script and it looks 100% real. And then you can put your captions over it, whatever. That exists, and that is technology that's available. It's not widely adopted. It's very infrequent that we hear or see a brand that has success with that. It's more just tech that was created really quick and thrown out there. And just I think they're still trying to figure out the perfect use case for it. So like even when I was in high school, Lil Malika was the first ever AI influencer. This was in 2016. And it was like, okay, that's cool, right? It's fun that they built a concept and got brand deals out of it. Like that is a cool case study. It's a cool piece of technology being used for like something cool in the real world, especially in marketing.
Mhm.
But direct impact on us, no. I mean, we've had conversations about building in AI avatars for our brand users to be able to create. And, we ask ourselves, why come to us to do that when you can go to CapCut? And so when we think about AI, we think about some different pictures. And so we think about the concept of ideation, idea creation and generation. A lot of times, like we just look at where in our platform do brands and creators have questions that are creative, right? Brands might say, well, I don't know what type of brief I want. I don't know what I want this content to look like. I just want the influencer to make this. And so we're currently working on different AI integration systems built on and with GPT that are all based on models that really know what a good influencer marketing campaign looks like and can understand the brand. And then from there, once each individual model can understand the brand, their goals, their ICP, their tone, what they're trying to do and grow with, then they can say, okay, well, we know what the brand is and we know exactly what a good campaign is. Let's put those things together and let's help the brand generate new ideas for influencer marketing. And then on the influencer side too, the very creative side of it is being able to actually make the content and then post it with very fun captions. A lot of times brands will write the caption for the influencer or the influencer will just write it out. But we see that a lot of influencers are using AI to help write their captions. And so we're building in to that as well to allow them to be able to generate captions based on all the data, which is the whole campaign, the brand, the brief, and give that to the influencer to help them with the posting process. That mixed with different recommendation engines that we're working on that all just play on the neural networks built with the first party data we own will allow for brands to find the perfect influencer based on that data and recommendation for their campaign and their budget. So like all different things we're playing with and different ideas to build upon. Like we see AI and emerging technologies at like the core of what we're building into, just because we want to obviously iterate with the times. We use these technologies personally and in work every single day. So
Right.
we want to find the best of them and build the best of them and give them to our clients who might not be as technologically advanced as us in the AI sector. So we're just always thinking about ways to make it simple, make it fast, make it easy, and not make it a headache.
I think that comes down, fast and easy is kind of the name of the game when it comes to any sort of content creation. You want to be able to easily record it, easily edit it, easily be able to post it with as few steps as possible. So if you are like assisting with AI generated captions that are, platform specific, optimized, that's perfect, right? It
Mhm.
makes being a creator a little bit easier. You're more focused on just being the presence behind the camera versus also having to be an editor, having to be a copywriter, having to do this, that, and the other thing. So it limits your focus to just being that presence behind the camera because that is the thing that is actually helping you generate your brand deals.
Exactly. And also on the brand side, all the content that comes through our platform is owned by the brands in perpetuity. And so teaching a brand influencer marketing, very easy. That's what they came to us to do. Teaching a more novice brand how to take that content and then actually upload it as an ad in the Meta Ads library or TikTok ad library or Google Display Network, a little bit harder. And so we're finding ways to leverage AI to help smooth that process out because the content lives in our content library that each brand can click on and download. But being able to easily deploy that as an ad, that's not as easy as imaginable. And so finding a lot of ways to make it so easy on the influencer and then also so easy on the brand so that influencer marketing with Glewee really is, as our tagline reads, it's fast, it's easy, and it's affordable. Because those are three things it never was in the traditional industry.
All right, so we are at time. So this is when I give you 90 seconds to plug anything that you're passionate about. That could be Glewee, that could be a charity that you're interested in, or anything. So without further ado, Chris, the floor is yours.
Okay, let me think. 90 seconds on the clock. Please, if you can, try to drink a gallon of water a day. Get a road bicycle. Ride it without touching the handlebars. Learn how to solve a Rubik's Cube. Find a book that you love and read it 5 times in a year. Write to your friends, like physically write. Tell your family you love them. FaceTime your grandparents if you still have them around, and be a great person. What do I have, like 80 seconds left now?
Probably, yeah.
Okay. If you want to join Glewee and you are on the brand side, whether you're a brand or an agency, a marketer, social media influencer manager, any of those people, and you want to find influencers to work with, you can join our platform for one of our 2 tiers, whether it's Essentials or Pro. You get your first month for free. And then from there, we want you to find success. We want you to test the platform, and we want you to be able to do influencer marketing in ways you've never been able to do before. You can go to www.glewee.com. GLEWEE.com and press start your 30-day trial, which is splattered all over our website. And you can join our platform, and a member of our team will be there for you to give you influencer marketing expert advice through your trial and beyond. And if you are an influencer, you can or a creator, you can download Glewee on the App Store and you can apply as a creator today. And we look forward to seeing and working with you.
Awesome.
Is that good?
That was
Right in
perfect.
time?
Right in time. Chris, great conversation today. I really appreciate you spending your morning with me, walking me through Glewee, having some fun talking about influencer marketing. It's been a great conversation.
Yeah, Brian, thank you so much. And fantastic job correlating the TikTok shop speed back to QVC and how we could have that conversation. That like opened up so many light bulbs going off in my head. So I love that.